Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Can We Talk About Your WordPress Projects? Now, lately we've been talking about setting client expectations. Some ways we can set client expectations are a little more subtle than, say, a direct, here's my process, you must agree to it. So it doesn't need to necessarily be that direct. Today, I wanted to talk about what are the client misconceptions in the first place? How do they get those misconceptions? On the later episodes, we'll talk about what to do about it. This is what everybody complains about. My clients don't respect what I do. They don't respect me as a designer. They don't respect me as a developer. They want to put their hands in everything. They don't respect what it costs to build a website. They don't respect. We'll go deeper into these in just a second. Budget and payments. My clients, again, don't understand what a website should cost. What does a budget even mean when you're talking about a project like this? And clients don't understand they need to actually pay for this stuff. And sometimes they have to pay before the work is done instead of afterwards. Misconceptions about design. They might actually be a designer. They need to stay in their own lane. That's what a lot of agencies complain about. And there's the common project problems like scope creep, content collection, acceptance management, all of those things. There are misconceptions surrounding these four main topics. If we break this down and look at respect, how do we convey what's involved in building a website? Let me just stop here and say most of all of this setting client expectations has to do with educating your client. How do you educate them? Do you sit them down and give them a mini course on how websites are built? There are much more subtle ways to do that. Also, they have misconceptions about what your role really is on the project, and it's your job to establish that with your client. They're not going to automatically do that. They have misconceptions about their role on the project and their need to stay in their own lane. Time and communication, that's another thing. Clients have misconceptions about your available time and communicating with you. Budget and payments. They have misconceptions about why it costs so much or what to them is a lot. Again, we're back to they have misconceptions about everything that's really involved in building a website. And part of that reason they have misconceptions about what's involved in building a website are those infernal ads on TV. I'm sorry, I'm going to get on a rant here. Those infernal ads on TV that tell everybody that a website can be built in an hour. And yeah, you can put the pieces and parts together in an hour, but there's a whole bunch more that goes into building a website. And they're just feeding people fake news, misinformation. They have misconceptions about the ramifications of late payments. They have misconceptions about ramifications of not paying it. If they don't understand these things, y'all, it's your fault. We're going to delve into how to both directly and indirectly set these expectations with the client over the next few weeks. We do this once a week. That's why it'll take a few weeks. They have misconceptions about design. They have misconceptions about the purpose of their website. They have misconceptions about design and what that actually involves and what kind of skill set there is. You guys who've been watching me for a while have heard me say, stop asking your clients what websites they like and don't like because it does not matter. You can ask them that later on in the process, especially after you've developed a relationship with them and after they've established a level of respect for you as a designer. But the purpose of the website is to meet business requirements, to solve business problems, and needs to be focused on the business requirements of the website. It's a marketing tool. These are the kinds of expectations we can set with the client very early on. If you word your project documents carefully and you have these messages kind of taped inside your head to make sure that you tell them. A lot of clients have a misconception about what their message is and what their message should be in terms of the web, because print advertising or print materials and your website are not necessarily written or displayed the same way. And a lot of clients have a misconception about that. And we're back to that. Stay in your own lane when it comes to design. I'm the designer. You're the whatever you do, the plumber, the housing contractor, the lawyer, the doctor, whatever your job is, you stay in that lane and let me be the designer. Then we're going to talk about client misconceptions. Clients have misconceptions about all of these common problems that have to do with websites. And why is that? Because they don't do this day to day. They don't know how website projects work. We do. They have misconceptions about abandoned projects. I mean, they must, because some clients just abandon the project. They have misconceptions about change and scope creep. They have misconceptions about what it means to gather all that content. And they have misconceptions about acceptance management. You need to learn to educate folks without being condescending. That is really hard, especially if you have the mindset your clients are stupid, because they're not. They just don't play in the same space that we play in. They don't know things. Being ignorant and being uneducated are two separate things. We use the term ignorant, and that has a terrible connotation to it. But ignorant really just means you haven't been given the opportunity to learn about that particular topic. That's what's really going on here. The client just hasn't been taught, or what they have been taught via the fake news from these ads on TV that tell people they can build a website in an hour. They're getting incorrect information. The other thing we need to do when we're being very direct is to reiterate things when necessary. Anytime you're talking about a particular thing that has to do with these expectations, you need to reiterate it over and over. Don't be afraid to repeat stuff, because they need to hear it over and over so that it will sink in. Then you can use your processes to teach your client about how websites work. So you can kind of couch it as if, okay, let me tell you how we do this process. Now, the reason we do this process is because, and you explain why you're doing it that way, because it solves a business problem. And any astute business person is going to listen to you when you say this solves a business problem we already know is a problem, so this is why we do it this way. Then they're much more likely to comply with your schedules and things like that. You need to make it cohesive. This might be the hardest part. All of these things are interrelated and need to relate to one another. For example, you can't do change management without a good acceptance management process or plan. You can't do acceptance management properly without a good change control plan. So they do overlap. It needs to be cohesive. You need to be like an actress or an actor that has studied their script front to back. You know every single word you're supposed to say and when you're supposed to say it. So it needs to all work together, all of your processes and such. There you go. That's what we're going to delve into the next few weeks during our Monday live training. Next week, we're going to talk about respect and setting proper client expectations with regard to respect. And some of the ways you do that are not necessarily direct, but very subtle. We're going to do the same with budget. We're going to do the same with design, and we're going to do the same with those common problems. So let me stop sharing my screen. One moment. That's how I see the client expectations lay out if we were doing big topics. That's what we're going to do over the next few weeks of, can we talk about your WordPress projects? I know I've been talking about it a lot lately, but it's been uppermost in my mind. This is the very first thing you need to understand, how to set these expectations, because of how you do your processes, how you present your proposal, and all of that needs to be couched around setting client expectations. So it probably is the number one thing you need to learn to do when you're starting to deal with clients, or it's the number one thing you need to improve to deal with your clients, because you're going to have much happier clients if they know what to expect. And then what they expect actually happens. That's how you're going to make happy clients. That's the end of our episode today. Thanks for watching, guys. But for now, this is the end of this episode. And as always, this episode is brought to you by the WP Project Managers Academy. It is the only place on the internet where you can learn how to consistently get your projects completed on time, within budget, with features that meet the client's business requirements without sacrificing profit. I'd also like to invite you to join our Facebook group if you're not already in there. Search on WordPress Project Management in Facebook. You should find our group right away. Thanks, guys. Have a great Monday evening, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye.